good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or whatever time zone it is with you in the world. It is your Lord and Saviour. And if you've been paying attention to the variety of things I've been posting on the Lord by Night YouTube community posts, as well as my social media pages, Lord by Night VTM at Instagram and Blue Sky, check those out in the description below, you'll know that I've been watching a horror film every single day of the month of October 2024 in the year of our Lord Talos. As courtesy, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, of the horror content creator Haunted Hippie, where each day of the month there's a different theme. Watch a film that fulfills that theme. And I've been really enjoying it. Now, I'm not much of a horror film fan. Well, that's not true. I'm not much of a film fan. I don't watch a lot of films, so I'm trying to expand my horizons with horror so I can diversify my talents a bit more as a storyteller and designer. Games, yeah, I could fucking talk about those to the end of time. Could milk that cow much longer than Bethesda could milk their Skyrim cow. But films, not so much. However, one set of horror films I've really enjoyed recently, which actually predates all this, is the Terrifier series with the slasher Art the Clown. And I do not know why, but that clown fills me with so much fucking joy, even though clowns at the best of days give me the heebie-jeebies. But there is something about his actor and the way that he physically portrays Art. It's just a beautiful physical humour. And that might seem a bit weird talking about a slasher film and clowns as beautiful, but there is just something really innocent and childish with the whole thing, and then you just plonk it in the horrible setting of what he does. There's just something really magical about it. Like, to the point where I've seen my little videos of him at, like, conventions and whatnot, interacting with fans, and there was this one, like, trying to get a reaction out of this baby. And I don't know, it just brings this stupid level of joy to my face. And my partner's actually told me off trying to work that out too much. I just let it be, which, to be fair, I probably should. However, with the recent release of Terrifier 3 in cinemas has sparked a bit of controversy in that you shouldn't kill kids in horror films, or any films in general, which I suppose is a mild fucking spoiler for that film, so thanks a bunch. So that's kind of led me onto this little vlog here, where I think you should actively throw children into your horror games and experiences. Here's why. Well, the first and obvious most thing one could say about all of this is that it really ups the stakes a little bit if you throw something that's small and helpless and all the naive innocence that surrounds the stereotypes of children when you're being chased by a big scary monster or any other form of horror experience. Especially if the character has like a direct connection to any of the party or coach or whatever word your game system uses. Now, I do have to preface this by saying, if this is something that your game does not want to explore, which I totally understand if you do not want to, right? Because many people who play horror games are adults with family and children, and they may not want to have somebody get a kick out of the violent decapitation and torture and all that stuff of children. I get that. I just do not think that, providing your group doesn't have much of a problem with it, that you should take it off the table entirely. Because horror, as much as it is meant to scare the player characters, it's also meant to scare the players as well. And I feel with providing the mix of children into it, you can get a whole variety of unique motions and forms of storytelling, as their particular mental psyche is cracked in a particularly new light that you wouldn't necessarily find in much older and more experienced characters. And I've often seen a bit of discourse actually with World of Darkness games about introducing children into the mix, particularly Vampire, because you know it's the favourite bloated child of the World of Darkness, where there are examples of characters being embraced as kids by very messed up individuals, and players don't really want to explore that, which again, totally fine, don't have a problem with that. But yeah, I've seen a lot of discussion regarding D&D characters and similar systems where you have kid or young explorers. Now, in some senses, I'd say that's actually fucking worse, because at least you could argue with horror that the horrors are thrust upon the individual rather than at actively pursuing it, such as the case of a child or a young character that is going to kill a horde of skeletons or goblins or take on a mind-fight dragon, where, just like any other horror creature or antagonist, they're going to have no mercy over the kid. So what is the difference here? Well, with vampire, it's the torture and the curse of immortality, and how this messed up world of vampire really screws with the head of any character. But then again, trauma in any form does with any sort of person. But with kids and Vampire and the Beast, and vampires being very emotional creatures and so are children, it creates a whole whirlwind of trouble. If you want to put it in a more mature light, which I word as such because the two kid vampire characters I can think of, one of them is an active Diabolist that just goes around killing things, is completely wiped off the red list. I am of course referring to the child of Baron Samedi himself. And there's also Nikolai, Tremere Primogen of Chicago by Night, pre-5th edition that is. But again, he is so old and experienced that he's, I guess, kind of become accustomed to it, really. But there are displays of his emotional side, particularly with the presence of women, shall we say. But this, I don't think that's treated all that maturely, because it's just somebody who's really clever and smart, sophisticated adult in a child's body, which is horrifying in of itself, just the juxtaposition and the breaking of the standard and the mould and whatnot. Again, provides a unique take of this whole horror experience that you wouldn't usually find in just regular adult characters. And there's also the fact that not killing kids in horror is the association that the deaths are bloody, violent, over the top, and often described as torture porn by, I've often seen in a derogatory sense. But with horror, all that blood and guts and gore is only one element of it. If we talk about Vampire the Masquerade, the long game of breaking down their willpower, in some ways, is more damning, because at least with the violent over-the-top kill, that's often the end. But with anything else, they've got to just endure, and then they snap. Now, I haven't had much experience running games with kids in them, but I've had a few actually, and it has provided some very interesting experiences. I ran a Wraith game where one of the characters was a early teenager. It was actually a character my partner played, and they were sort of like this rebel in life, as this big old shit stir, and then they died and they were immediately thrust into Legionnaire hierarchy soldiers and their moliated dogs, which I've actually forgotten the name of, so I'll put the name up here. And in that instant, it completely broke them. Okay, this isn't a game, this is hell. I've now got to be on my best fucking behaviour, sort of thing. And just that instant flip was just so engaging for not just me, because I wanted to see what they would do with the character and how they interact with the setting, but the players as well. There was a bit more of this urgency. Okay, we're going to give this character a bit more independence, and free will and all that. We've got to make sure that they're alright and they don't do something stupid, because they had seen that they're a bit of a rebellious character. So it really also, in that sense, it brought the group together and encouraged the role play a bit more, to be a bit more organic, because people were actively paying attention to the motives and feelings of other characters. And as this was a one-shot, and it's often quite difficult to gel the group together because of that, that was a very interesting result, I feel. Of course, such character concepts could easily break a group apart, and their death or any harm that may come upon them would obviously deal more of an emotional impact, but it might be too much if not handled with care. So again, talk with your players, talk with the games master, what is and isn't socially acceptable at the game. And as much as a temptation it is to do what I'm just about to say, don't give characters plot armor just because they're kids or they're special, because that just removes all sense of urgency and danger from the experience. And if you want to do that, just do a solo thing and just cheat your way through it. That's absolutely fine with that. As long as you enjoy it, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't. It just cheapens and lessens the experience just to not kill off certain characters. Of course, again, If you're playing a game and you don't want any harm to come to children, the best way to deal with that is not involve them at all, or have them as like mentioned off camera somewhere, or maybe a phone call, or whatever form of long distance communication your game world has. Again, it's very important to me that when I'm running games that everybody is having a good time, and I'm scaring the players, not traumatizing them. Because as my author friend Steffi Devan once said to me in an interview that's going to appear in a card right now, horror without consent is trauma, and causing trauma is not a good thing. Not good at all. So we want to scare players and give them a fun time, that rush and exhilaration of horror, but we do not want to fucking give them trauma experiences. That's just not on. And if doing anything that I've suggested would, don't do it. It's quite simple really. So I just want to really make that crystal fucking clear that I'm not saying you should throw in kids and just, you know, traumatize people. It's just not on. So yeah, just have a good old chat about it with your group about what is and isn't okay. I mean, some games actually have kids as an archetype. The Walking Dead TTRPG, which is the second time that I've mentioned that this year actually, one of its archetypes is the kid, or the child or whatever, where you could play a kid that's been thrust into this world of zombies. Of course, you don't have to include it if you don't want to, but the folks at Free League acknowledge that you can have these interesting experiences with kid characters, or maybe play a whole game where everybody's a kid. That would be pretty interesting. In fact, World of Darkness did a game just like that for Chronicles of Darkness, then new World of Darkness called WoD Innocents, which has a whole Stranger Things vibe with it. So if that's something that you want to try out, I highly recommend. It's a very interesting book, and for the most part it's well written and it's respectful. It does have some rather unpleasant comments regarding autism, but you know, no system and book is perfect, I suppose. In my totally biased opinion, horror is one of the most beautiful forms of storytelling across any form of media. And yeah, saying beauty and horror together might seem as a weird thing to some, but horror can pair with so many genres so well, which I don't think is something that we can say with a lot of other genres of storytelling and media out there. Like, it's evocative, it's emotional, it can be captivating, it can be fucking gruesome, but horror is also incredibly political as well, which I know is going to annoy some people, but do your fucking research. To me, good horror is a lot more than just blood, guts and gore, warhammers, chainsaws, you know, all that stuff that we associate with slashers and zombies and whatnot. We can tell far more engaging stories than that, with suspense and dread. And even when you use those two scenarios, the thing that made The Walking Dead work so well for a time is that the real horrors of the show were the people and how they interact with anything, similar with The Last of Us. And that other fucking zombie game that Sony did, it's appearing there, Days Gone I think it is, but it's going to appear there because I'm not 100% certain on the memory. Now, each of these had obviously different ways of doing this and have different levels of effectiveness, but it's really the emotions, the connections that people have together that really make these horror really stick with you. Because in those examples, tell me something horrible that the zombies did to really fuck the characters. It's just rushing at them and tear them from limb to limb, which of course is frightening in and of itself. You have a look at slashers and the group of survivors who, might I add to you, are often young adults and old teenagers. It's how they react to all of this that really makes those stories stand out. Sure, again, the kills are something as well, and they're quite memorable. But it's the people that are the true monsters at the end of it all. You know, fucking classic. So there's a lot more to horror than just the bloods and gores. It's just, as I said, all these other emotions that you could tap into and explore. And in the realm of TTRPGs, we can take all those emotions and more and explore scenarios that we wouldn't possibly dream of. Except somebody does dream them up, decides to get their friends together and tells this collaborative story that's sort of has the outcome dictated by dice rolls. So it's totally random for the most part. And horror just allows us to experience the thrill and excitement of just being on the close enough of death to get a bit of a buzz out of it. And because we like to torture ourselves, we're going to keep doing it again and again and again. Now, if I sound like a fucking weirdo as I say this, you, my normie listener, are not allowed to go on roller coaster rides again. Not allowed to go bungee jumping. You're not allowed to do anything that causes any level of excitement, because they sort of stem from the same emotion here. So going back to kids, about putting them through the horror grind, as it were, in all shapes and sizes. If your reasons for not including them are deep and personal, then don't bother exploring them. And this goes for anything, in any sort of game. But if it's because some sort of social stigma and feeling you're going to get told off by a group of people online, maybe just open your mind's eye and heart a little bit and see what sort of scenarios you can come up with. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Don't do it again. At least you tried. Basically, at the end of the day, if you and your table are having fun doing what you're doing it right. And it's, you know, just don't enforce things upon people either. Just because you don't like a certain thing doesn't mean that you should enforce something upon other people. Now, for an extreme example, if there's a fucking, I don't know, a TTRPG actual play group that are portraying as Nazis, then yeah, we need to call that shit into question. There are exceptions to every rule. But, you know, as I said, if you're having fun doing what you're doing in your own personal group, then all power to you. Just try not to be so close-minded sometimes. So apologies for this sort of emotional rant, as it were. Both horror and storytelling in games are really important things to me, not just the decapitation of kids. It's not very important at all, to be honest. That's a very small niche of that, but as the games master, particularly with horror, giving characters plot armor for the sake of it is a bit silly. Sure, if you've got like the big bad who can only be destroyed with the 5 pieces of Exodia or something like that, sure, fair enough, it's great storytelling, if done alright. But just doing it for the sake of it is a bit weird. To that end, I would love to hear how you've included kiddies in your TTRPG games as player characters or as NPCs. And see the sort of narrative and emotions that we've explored with that. And it doesn't have to be horror related, and I want to hear from a player and as an NPC, as I said, because I want it to inspire people that actually with a right conversation we can explore a lot of other things, and that I'm just genuinely interested to see what people have done, because I love hearing about what you lot get up to in your games. It inspires me, and I'm sure it's going to inspire a lot of other people as well. As you're scrolling down there to put away your comments, good, bad, and somewhere in between, you can find various links to the Lore by Night social media pages and the Lore by Night Discord server, which recently has some pretty dank memes, which are just, like, the meme game at the moment is just on fucking fire! But we've got more than that. We've got great World of Darkness discussions and TTRPG horror stuff galore, and everything else in between. You can also find a variety of World of Darkness and Vampire the Masquerade books for you to purchase. Now, if you purchase them with those links, I get some of the money back because I'm an affiliate on DriveThruRPG and the Storyteller's Vault, and the little bit of coinage I get from those really goes a long way to provide cool, awesome, lore-based content for you lovely bastards. Now, say you have that kid horror character and you can't find that group to put them in for whatever reason, or any other character concept, you can purchase the Aurtakis Storyteller, which is a Vampire the Masquerade homebrew, which allows you to play Vampire the Masquerade by yourself, and with a bit of tweaking, you can use it with any game system really, so don't be dissuaded at the fact that it says Vampire the Masquerade or 5th edition. It works with any edition of Vampire or any game system, you fucking weirdos, because I get that complaint a lot. But yeah, that's all there for you to use to purchase on the Storyteller's Vault. So yeah, buy those books, follow me on social media, like, share and subscribe with any and all who love what I do, and I'll see you on the next upload, whatever that may well be for you. And until next time, farewell.